Hey YouTube, Joe Boy here. So, chapter 852 of One Piece has dropped a little bit early. So if you haven't checked out that chapter yet, I suggest that you do so because I will be spoiling you. But now that you have, let's begin. Now guys, this was not a holy shit chapter. Honestly, I think the majority of the chapter's contents is nothing too significant. But I was totally just touched by Sanji's mother. Sanji's mother, who had one goal, which was to ensure that Judge did not turn her children into emotionless monsters. And she sacrificed her life to do that, and of her children, only one managed to keep his feelings, aside from Revujo, who was already born at that point in time, and that was Sanji. And just by Sanji showing little signs of emotion made his mother happier than just pretty much anything else could. And Jesus Christ, guys, that was just, it was touching. I've thought this before and I'm gonna stick by it. The one thing that makes Sanji superior to all of his siblings is not any enhancements such as body modification. It's straight up that he is more human than them. He has emotion and he can draw upon that emotion to fuel his power. I think that in and of itself makes him better than everyone else in the Vinsmoke family. Now guys, moving past this, let's talk about some of the other things in this chapter. And the first thing is that, like many people speculated, Sanji's first course of action after learning that pudding was evil was to take this information to the Vinsmoke, but he did not take it to his father or his brothers. He actually took it to Revujo, which I think all in all was a very smart decision. And so essentially what happens there is Revujo tells him to not worry about the Vinsmoke. That Revujo still has emotions. She's still a good person. She's a total waifu right now. Definitely the Revujo love is going to grow from this chapter. But she says that the Vinsmoke are straight up evil. Things that we already knew. That his brothers and her brothers are emotionless. They're heartless. They're monsters. Judge is not much better. And frankly, they deserve to die. So let Big Mom do to them what she will. And in the meantime, Sanji, take your friends and go. And we even get a little bit of conversation about Sanji's other worry, which is the Baratie. And essentially, Revujo tells him that he should not worry about the Baratie because she does not believe that Big Mom really cares about them. That essentially it's just a threat. It's nothing more than that. She's willing to hang that over your head to ensure that her plans go through with the Vinsmoke, but it doesn't actually mean anything, and you can feel free to leave Whole Cake Island without worrying about your mentor. And so guys, on the surface, it would seem like what Revujo is saying would make some sense. But I do have one major issue with Reju's advice, which is essentially she says that everything will be fine if you take your friends and you leave, that Big Mom will kill the Vinsmoke, she'll get what she wants, and everything will be kosher. However, guys, there's one huge problem, which is Sanji is not just some random person that is located on Whole Cake Island. He is, in fact, the groom. And so if Sanji left before the marriage actually occurred, then the groom would have to change. Things would have to change. The wedding plans would have to change. Everything would have to change. And I highly doubt that if it is true that Big Mom is, as she seems to be, that she would be okay with that. When you really look at the circumstances surrounding the Whole Cake Island arc, you realize that at any point in time since all the Vinsmoke arrived, Big Mom could have killed them. But she has not. She's waiting for this perfect moment during the wedding ceremony itself to sort of set her plans into motion. And I don't think that this is significant because this is the best time to kill them. I think it's significant because this is what Big Mom desires. She desires this wedding ceremony to take place. And if all this is true, she desires to see Sanji's reaction to seeing pudding being evil. She desires the Vinsmoke's reaction to seeing her turn on them. And in general wants to make a very dramatic scene. At least that's the impression that I get, because again, she could have killed them at any point in time since they all arrived. And so with that being the case, Sanji would be a very important piece to the events that Big Mom has planned. But everything I've said up to this point has no importance anyway, because you don't even need to look that deeply to know that this is not how the arc is going to shape up. There's way too many hanging plots for these Straw Hats to straight up leave before the wedding actually occurs, for Luffy to find Sanji, and for them to just book it. Because you have the Tamatabako box, which is going to explode and have some impact on the story. We have Capone and his plans, which need to be addressed in some way. We have Caesar and his role in the story going forward, whether or not he'll be saved, what will happen with him. This needs to be addressed as well. So straight up, guys, all these lines from Revujo in this chapter saying, yo, you know, just leave, guys. This is just seems like a waste of time to me. And I think we should also consider what may happen with Brook, because if you'll remember from the last few chapters, Brook is actually fighting against the Big Mom. And so perhaps Brookes Capture is what keeps the Straw Hats in Whole Cake Island to attend the marriage. That's a possibility. Anyway, guys, long story short, I don't find these lines very persuasive. Oda has not convinced me that it's possible for the Straw Hats to run away at this point in time. So we're just gonna move on. So guys, it seems like the chaos in Whole Cake Island is sort of starting to brew up, but I don't imagine it's going to be anything too significant until the actual wedding itself. Now it seems like it's setting up a lot of chaos right now because Luffy has escaped. They burned the prisoner books, and there are now prisoners running through Whole Cake Island for which the Big Mom pirates have to deal with. And this will provide cover for the Straw Hats to actually operate and perhaps reconvene to get together and plan something. That's definitely something that I see happening. And we also learned in this chapter that Luffy is essentially starving. He needs food as well. He's still really beat up. And Sanji conveniently is still carrying around the bento box. Luffy will definitely get this bento box, and it will restore him at least hunger-wise for sure. Thus allowing him to do other things in Whole Cake Island. But anyway, guys, it seems like trouble's brewing right now before the actual wedding, and I do believe that this is significant. And so what exactly is my prediction for what will happen in the future? Well, I think what's going to happen is that the released prisoners are going to provide cover for the Straw Hats. These Straw Hats, through probably the help of Chopper and Carrot in the mirror world, are going to be able to find each other. I think that Chopper and Carrot are going to bring the Straw Hats, as many as they can find, into the mirror world itself. The Big Mom pirates, the ministers, and the Sweet Commanders are going to round up all the prisoners. They are not going to find the Straw Hats. The Straw Hats will be hiding within the mirror world while they plan out what they do next. Thus, the next time that there is major conflict will be at the actual wedding. I just cannot see things going down right now before the actual wedding, but with more fights against ministers and Sweet Commanders right now with the Straw Hats. This is just not, it does not feel like the right time for me, so they need a way to postpone that, and the mirror world is a perfect cover. But now let's get into some individual lines that I found interesting. The first one is that Luffy tells Jinbei, oh, it wasn't the first time that we met in a prison. I've been talking a long time about the parallels between the pre-time skip and the post-time skip, and this is Oda literally pointing it out for us. That the first time that Luffy met Jinbei was in a prison, and then we have this arc where Luffy didn't really know that Jinbei was there, and then when they finally do meet, it is in a prison. This was totally done on purpose and was a theory that could have been potentially made that I don't think anyone made. We also got confirmation that what Jinbei is doing right now is an act of rebellion. And it also sort of gives the impression that Jinbei has really not already left the Big Mom pirates. Otherwise, if he had left, it wouldn't be a rebellion as much as a direct attack. You get what I'm sort of saying here? Now, you know, it's hard to tell what's truth, what's from not truth, but if we take the lines for what they are, then that would mean that Jinbei did not leave Big Mom's crew yet, which would imply that he did not actually go through with spinning the roulette, as the news implied that he did. Also, guys, was I the only one who totally cracked up to the line that Luffy uses up 3 times the amount of energy a normal person would just by existing? Like, hashtag winning, Nami. And guys, I'm just gonna straight up say that I was wrong. A lot of people were looking for justifications for why Pudding may have attacked Revujo, and we actually got that justification from this chapter. Revujo was suspicious of Pudding because she seemed quote-unquote too good, which, by the way, I think is pretty much what King of Lightning said and a lot of other people said as well. So Revujo's got that same intuition as many of you in the community, like, she's gotta be bad, she looks so good. So went sniffing around, and we can assume that if Pudding actually specifically targeted her, then maybe Revujo actually stumbled upon Pudding doing something which may have in a way implicated Pudding to not be as she seemed, or in some way forced Pudding to act against Revujo, which was why Pudding attacked Revujo. And it had nothing to do with initially like showing off or anything like that. She literally attacked Revujo out of necessity and then altered her memories afterwards to cover the whole thing up. And the last thing that I want to talk about, guys, is that Smoothie herself indicates the marriage tomorrow and calls it, rather than a marriage, calls it plans, which I'm going to be straight up with you guys, supports the idea that Big Mom actually did have plans to kill the Vinsmoke. Otherwise, why would Smoothie call it plans and not call it marriage? Like, this is going to affect the marriage tomorrow, not our plans, right? And so I'm not sure if Oda is being dodgy here or not, but if we take the words at face value, it essentially confirms, if you weren't already convinced, which a lot of people were already convinced, that Big Mom's actual plan was to kill the Vinsmoke. But yeah, guys, honestly not overly hyped for this chapter. Really wanted more. I feel unsatisfied by it. Sanji's flashback in this chapter was awesome. Or the flashback involving his mother, and then a little bit of just the Beiju scenes were really good. But as a whole, there just doesn't seem to be a lot of just critical information dropped in this chapter, or any real progression of the story. It doesn't feel like. But maybe it's going to be more significant than we think. We'll just have to wait until the next chapter of One Piece. But anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know if you noticed anything from the chapter that I missed. That is some way interesting. Just share your thoughts. Like the video if you like the video. Dislike the video if you dislike the video. Subscribe if you want to be notified for my future videos. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.